How do you have the greatest shooter in NBA history and still manage to completely screw it up? The Warriors didn't collapse overnight. This has been a slow, painful breakdown of bad decisions. They're wasting Steph Curry's final prime years, a once-in-a-generation talent, and honestly, it's flat out disrespectful. Since 2020, the Warriors have not been a good basketball team. Let's truly dive in. They only won 15 games that year, mainly due to injuries, Kevin Durant leaving, Klay Thompson recovering, no Steph Curry, no Andrew Wiggins, lack of bench. But even if healthy, that roster was going nowhere. However, next season, they bounced back. I mean, they kind of did. They won 39 games out of 72 in a shortened season, but you would never believe why. It is simply because Steph Curry had the highest scoring season of his entire career at age 33, still carrying the team on his back. And what was the front office doing? Adding more weight, wasting a number 2 pick on James Wiseman, who to this day has not played in more than 148 games in 4 years. And that same draft class was LaMelo Ball. And James Wiseman already had a history of injuries. And to make it worse, he only played 3 games in college. Was he a great player? Absolutely. But I think you could have foreseen this coming just a tad bit. Then came 2022, the last year with the original championship dynasty squad. Now listen, yes, they won 53 games that year. Yes, they had 4 different players averaging 17 points on the same roster. And yes, Steph Curry did not have as much offensive load as some of these other years. Absolutely. But do not let that fool you. That was not a true championship contender and far from a dynasty level squad. It was a perfect storm. And yes, I do understand that luck plays a role in every NBA championship in NBA history, but that's what made that 2022 run so special, because nobody expected the Warriors to make the finals, yet alone win the NBA championship. Guys like Andrew Wiggins had the best regular season and playoff season in his career during that stretch. Jordan Poole also peaked at the perfect time, making championship plays during that run. But honestly, they avoided real competition until the finals. There was no Jamal Murray in round 1 against the Nuggets. Essentially the same team going into next year that won the finals. Ja Morant only played 3 games in round 2. It was a 6-game series. If they were going to win it all in any year, it had to be that one. Dallas was fully healthy, but not a real threat. But in the Warriors' defense, the West that year simply was just not that good. So in the finals, Steph delivered. He was hitting some extremely difficult shots. If you cracked the window and that man seen light, he took the shot. Wiggins, the second best player in that series, stepped up big time. Jordan Poole had huge moments. He was very big throughout that playoff run. But even then, Klay Thompson was still chucking up shots. Draymond Green was still allergic to the rim, and Jordan Poole's ego was starting to show cracks. And then came October, weeks before the start of the 2023 NBA season. Draymond threw a right punch so mean you would think he was prime Mike Tyson. The man punched his own teammate. So at that point, the Warriors had to choose between Jordan Poole and Dre. And they didn't want to get punched, so Jordan Poole had to go. But because the Warriors did not plan on releasing Jordan Poole, they had to rush the trade without maximizing the profit from his contract. They traded for a 38-year-old CP3 on a $30 million guaranteed contract. The CP3 trade was good in theory, but it was an awkward fit. But then they waived him to get the money off the books, and they've never had a player like Jordan Poole since. All of this while failing to capitalize on Curry's prime with real win-now pieces. That team won a championship, but it wasn't built to last. It was very mediocre with the perfect circumstances to exceed expectations, because since 2020, the Warriors organization has failed to put around Steph Curry at least an all-star center, real bench depth, or at least an offensive player that can consistently create and take pressure off of Steph Curry. So he doesn't have to run 10 miles a game just to keep them afloat above 500. The greatest shooter of all time has been carrying this organization through terrible draft picks, awful roster construction, bad front office decisions, and even questionable coaching. And in 2025, I'd rather he just jump ship. If you're feeling this so far, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. More deep dives coming soon. Because the boat is sinking, even with the Jimmy Butler trade. On paper, it's exactly what the Warriors needed. A tough veteran presence, a guy who's been there at the highest level consistently, has been the best player on the team, extremely hard-nosed, the first option. Jimmy drives in, kicks it out, resets the offense. But too often, those passes lead to worse shots, or it resets back to Steph Curry, who then has to do more offensive lifting. His offense isn't consistent enough, especially against smart playoff defenses. And at 36, he's just not the same scorer he used to be. And if they somehow venture deep into the playoffs these next 2 years, there is definitely going to be a lot of heavy legs on Steph, Draymond, and Butler. And he's still in the books for $54 million through 2027. That's a big commitment for a declining asset. So the Warriors roster right now in 2025, absolutely terrible. And the Jonathan Kuminga situation, almost laughable. And it's entirely their fault. Kuminga averaged more points than Jimmy Butler in that playoff series versus Minnesota, even though he wasn't getting the same minutes he was in the regular season or starting, because instead guys like Brandon Potts are playing 30 minutes a game and guys like Trace Jackson Davis are starting over him. So your leading scorer is coming off the bench. Kuminga wants out because of this mismanagement. Steve Kerr can't figure out how to incorporate Kuminga into the offense, which is weird to me because it entirely revolves around Steph Curry. And don't get me wrong, Kuminga also has his issues of court mapping and knowing where to be at certain times. But I do know when he was playing in the playoffs, even though he wasn't getting any minutes in the first round series, when he came in the second round, he was your leading scorer coming off the bench. Crazy. Even if they could, the Warriors won't do a sign and trade because giving up players like Buddy Hield and Moses Moody to try and improve the roster would actually only make it worse. And offering Kuminga a $25 to $30 million extension would put them inside the first apron, which would then mean they're essentially stuck with that team. So most likely the Warriors lose Jonathan Kuminga for nothing. Now, I am assuming that Kuminga is going to play the last year of his rookie contract, which is 4 years. It'll be the last year this year. He could sign an extension. I do not believe that's happening. So I believe he's going to leave in free agency. But it has to be noted, the Warriors can match whatever contract he gets. But I do not believe they will because of the way their salary cap is going to be looking at that time. Now, can this get any worse? Is all hope lost for Steph Curry? Maybe not. There's still talks of bringing in solid players like Al Horford, Nikola Vucevic, Seth Curry, and possibly bringing back Gary Payton II. But is it enough? Absolutely not. And unfortunately for the Warriors, really for Steph Curry, this all depends on what Kuminga's contract looks like. But let me know what you think down below. If you're a Warriors fan or you enjoy the content, smash the like button, destroy the sub button, because I am definitely going to have more to say about this team when the season starts. Spread the word. Every Warriors fan has to see this. And just like always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.